Welcome to Focus on Albany. I'm Cynthia Pooler, and my guest today is Larry Becker. And Larry Becker is the secretary on the board of directors for Grand Street Community Arts. And Larry and I are going to talk about WCAA, the fund drives that we've been organizing, and how the bottle drives defer the cost of maintaining the station. So, Larry, let's give a little overview of um, WCAA.
Sure. So WCAA was um, inspired by one of the board directors, Barbara Spring, who worked with Musa Zwanga, and they helped bring WCAA into existence. This was maybe like in 2014 or something around there. And they made an application to the FCC, and the board supported that. And we went on the air in February 2017. So we are a community radio station that, uh, and an organization that has wanted a community radio station for a long time. And we're so glad to be on the air and have people in the community on the air as well.
So, all of the people who do shows, they're local people, and there's a wide variety of different kinds of shows, right?
Yeah, they're not all local. We're part of a Pacifica affiliate of the Pacifica organization. So some of the shows that we play are from other community radio stations, but the majority of our shows are definitely from local community people who are as diverse as you can possibly be.
Now, you do a show.
I do. I do a show called the Radio Free Blues Show. It's a 2-hour show. Uh, I've been fortunate enough to have it picked up by other Pacifica stations all around the United States and Maine and Alaska and Texas, all over the place. Yep.
Now, did you ever do a radio show before WCAA?
Never,
So,
never.
so it's new to you. Isn't
Completely.
it exciting though? Because I do a number of talk shows, and it's such a great feeling to be able to contribute to the community, wouldn't you say?
It is. It's not as difficult as I thought it would be, and it's not as nerve wracking. But I do most of my stuff pre-recorded. I pre-record my show in a little studio I created in my office. But people can do their show live,
Hmm.
at the studio at 68 Grant Street, which is the former St. Anthony's Church, which is part of Grant Street Community Arts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, so I got the idea to do a bottle drive at the end of last summer, and the reason I thought of it is I'm a cancer survivor, and I participated in a couple of marathons for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And we had, for each event, we had to raise what I think is just a substantial amount of money. So I got the idea to collect bottles and cans. And in one of my marathons, every penny I raised was through bottles and cans. So I thought if I could do it for a marathon, I could do it for a radio station. So this coming weekend will be our third um, Battle and Can Drive, and it's been pretty successful. The community is really excited, to participate with us and stuff. So give an overview of the costs of running a station and how the Bottle and Can Drive helps.
Yeah. Let me just say a little bit more about the bottle and can drive. In the beginning, I wasn't that enthusiastic about it. But when I saw what you were doing and how you were doing it, it really, and then when I participated in it a little bit, it really made more and more sense. I mean, not only did it make money, which was really needed, but it also creates community. It actually creates community. It gets us out in front of the building, and and there's a really good interaction between members who are participating in that fund drive and people who are contributing to the fund drive. So it's a community radio station, but the bottle drive is actually creating some of that community. So it's really a good thing. So let me talk. Go ahead. Sorry.
The first one I did up by the museum,
Right.
and then the second one was down at Grant Street. And the first one I did was pretty interesting because it was warm. It was in the summer. And Musa made a sign for me, and we would hold the sign, and people would stop if they didn't have bottles. They would give us a dollar or two, and they were really enthusiastic about who we were and what we're doing. So it gave me such a sense of accomplishment. I really felt good, and I felt good after the last one we did. And hopefully, the PSAs are on the air, and what we're doing today will help. So,
Yeah, no, it was great. It was really great. Uh, so so the radio station has expenses. It has expenses which are just completely appropriate to a radio station. So as I mentioned before, we're a Pacifica affiliate, which is which has real value because like a lot of other community stations, it's good to get support from somebody who's been doing this process for a long time. And we're also allowed to, uh, download shows from other community radio stations, and our shows can be downloaded by those other affiliates of Pacifica. So Pacifica has, uh, but they can't do it for free because they have employees who run that operation. So so there's an expense for Pacifica. There's an expense for the internet that we need in order to be able to do streaming. There's radio software and technical services that we need to keep that software and that radio station operating. There's a web page site that we have to pay for. And some of the major expenses are there are these. I'm going to give you the names of the four entities, but
okay.
it's CSAC, BMI, ASCAP, and Sound Exchange. So what these four entities do is we pay them, an annual fee, and they take those monies that we pay them, and they give those monies to the artists that have performed the music that we're playing on our station.
Mhm.
And it's totally appropriate because these artists have created this work the same way we try to create our shows, and these artists have expenses, not only living expenses but the expense it takes to create that art. And so these licensing entities uh, uh, serve that function, and we have to pay that. There's insurance. Insurance is one of the bigger expenses. It carries insurance for the radio station, uh, the building insurance, so we can have our studio there. And then, of course, there's utilities, the heat and electricity that we use to run the station. There's just building upgrades. We put some more electrical services in the building, and there's always like additional radio supplies that we're going to need, new microphones, and all these things add up to. I'm going to give you an approximate figure just for the radio, not for the rest of the building, but just for the expenses that are attributable to the radio is about $1,200 a month. So
Mhm.
so that has to be funded in some way,
Right.
and every month it's a struggle because these bills come in, and they
Right.
will discontinue and disconnect, and you have to make these payments. And
Mhm.
we want to make these payments. We want to make these payments to these people that are helping us making it possible for us to have a radio station.
Now I look at the bottle drive as a way to raise the money to keep these operational costs under control. But at the same time, we're giving to the community. We're doing shows. We have local people coming in and speaking and doing shows. But it's so interesting because then it becomes a symbiotic relationship where they're helping us, and in the process, we're helping them, and that's really really exciting.
No, totally true. For example, Grant Street does it's teamed up with the county, and we've done vaccinations for people. They can just walk in without an appointment and get vaccinated. And we do the breakfast at Grant Street once a month, and people come in and we show them the radio studio. And but the bottle drive, it's like I said before, it's creating community, but it's also creating awareness. Like there are so many people that don't even know there's a radio station in that St. Anthony's Church.
Right.
But when you're out there, with a sign, and you're doing this once a month, people are getting aware that we're there, and then we can talk to them about the station. And some of them are probably going to end up having shows because
Right.
they're interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when I first thought about this, and I don't remember the first person I talked to about it, but when you found out about it, you said that your enthusiasm grew over time. What was your reaction when you first heard about my idea?
I just didn't think that that bottles collecting bottles was going to be uh make a serious dent in the expenses. But I underestimated Cynthia Pooler and your enthusiasm, because really that's what it takes. It takes one person who really wants to throw themselves into a project to to make that project work and gather other people who want to help her, and it's it is it's just so satisfying to see somebody who has a show. So
Hmm.
you're ready doing the work that it takes to do a show. But
Right.
in addition to that, you're, you're standing outside, it's cold, you're waving a sign,
Hmm.
you're yelling at people, hey, come across the street, do you have any bottles?
Right.
Learn about us. And it's really it's really good for the organization. It's good for the community. No, you completely won me over.
Because the first one I did, like I said, was in the summertime. And, the first one, I raised like $115. But
Mhm.
it went towards some expenses. And, I knew that once there was awareness, once there was enthusiasm, that it would just keep on growing. And the second one was great. And, you know, it's a work in progress, and it's creative, and we're doing a positive thing. A lot of times people just throw away their cans and bottles. Don't throw them away. Give it to us so that we can broadcast what goes on in your community. And I think that is so important.
Yeah, and we do broadcast that type of thing. We do a calendar so that people know what's going on. We broadcast about where they can go and get COVID vaccinations and all sorts of things. If there's it's any kind of situation in the community that needs attention, we can provide that because we have a radio station.
Mm-hmm. So, um, when you first signed on to Grant Street, did you ever think you would be doing a radio show?
So I got involved in Grant Street in 2003. I was my daughter was the one who came up with the Grant Street idea to bring this diverse community that we have together through the arts. And
Mhm.
Tom McFeeters and I joined up with her, and uh, we ended up negotiating with the Catholic diocese to buy the building, the former St. Anthony Church, which had been abandoned. Well, it was still owned by the diocese, but it was just being used for storage. And there was other interest in it, and we didn't want to have it get turned into something else or just um, collapse from lack of attention. So
Mhm.
it is an amazing building, and now it holds a radio station. Um, so when in 2003, I didn't think about uh, a radio station in there. We had the free school, which is an alternative school on Elm Street, just around the corner. We tried to get an FCC radio station affiliated with the free school
Mhm.
before that, but we weren't able to do it because Congress reneged on these low power FM applications.
Mhm.
But this time when we did it in 2014, Congress stuck to its guns, and we were able to get we competed for it. So it was different not-for-profits competed for a little sliver of the FM dial, and we were able to get it at Grand Street, and was so glad we did. But no, I never thought about being on the radio myself.
So, you it's a low power station, like you said.
Mhm.
It's only 100 watts. But with streaming services, we could be broadcasting in Indonesia or California or the Pacific Islands, and there's no boundaries to how far WCAA can reach with the streaming services. So my goal at the very beginning was to increase awareness in the community of WCAA and to keep the streaming services going because I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. The streaming is key.
Right.
Yeah.
And streaming is like everything now. Everything is streamed over the internet, right?
Yeah, in fact, I'm not even sure how many people have radios. I mean, I have radios in my house because we have boom boxes, and the boom box, that we use to play CDs, those contain also a radio in it, so
Hmm.
we have radios. I bought a radio, a little teeny radio for my office so I can turn on my show to make sure everything sounds right, and then have radios in their cars. But the streaming, I mean, almost everyone has a cell phone. It's just amazing how
Right.
many people have cell phones, and they have computers if they don't have cell phones. And they can go to grandarts.org and hit the streaming button, and boom, they've got the radio station live. Whatever the
Right.
radio station is doing at that time, they're going to hear it.
Right. And
Yeah.
the other important thing is you mentioned cell phones, and I'm not that tech savvy, but you know, you could be walking down the street in Albany, see something going on, be able to record it on your cell phone, and then put it on the air. The evolution of technology is really really interesting.
Yeah, that's like the citizen journalism type of approach to things. You have a phone, you can take a picture of it, you can record what's going on, and you can do it contemporaneously to when it's happening. So it has a lot of gravitas to it because you're actually seeing it and you're reporting on what you're seeing. It's very significant actually.
So every year, the affiliates of Pacifica, they get together and they have a grassroots conference. And you've gone to several of them, haven't you?
I have, yeah, and we had one right here at Grand Street. That was
Right, right.
that was the first one I went to.
And it's pretty interesting to talk to people who have stations all around the country who participate and to learn from them and pick up ideas. And this whole concept is so intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, you do your music show, I do my talk show, and there's other people who do shows, and you really don't have to rely on the mainstream media. All you have to do is turn on 107.3 and you get all of the updates on what's going on in the city of Albany, and that's great.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, our station is is unique for a number of different reasons. I mean, part of it is just the variety. The variety on our station is just off the charts. If you turn it on and you don't hear anything you like, just turn it on an hour later. It'll be totally
Right.
different. And it's because people are different and what they love is different. And what they love, they put into their shows. So you're really hearing something that's significant. And all the producers, all the people who produce these shows are volunteers.
Hmm.
uh, None of us get paid for it. So, so you're doing it because you feel it's fun or important or something you love. And, it comes, I think it comes through, in the stuff that people can hear on WCAA.
Hmm. So, we have a sister station in Troy, WOOC.
Mhm.
Have you known Steve Pierce, because he organizes WOOC? Have you known him for a while?
Yeah, he and I were together trying to get that station for the free school. And we went, we hired an engineer. We went through some expenses, but it fell through. All of them fell through during that year when the Congress backed off and dropped it. But yeah, I've known him for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I do my radio show. The Blues Show is called the Radio Free Blues Show, but I have a show where I occasionally interview people called Radio Free Albany, and I send little 10-minute buckets, they call it, to WOOC, and occasionally they get played. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a very good station he's got.
But the building itself on Grand Street, it's huge,
It
and
is.
and and in the wintertime, it's almost not too comfortable to go in there
Yeah,
because the heat that place costs a fortune, right?
yes, it does. It's it costs a fortune, even if there's hardly anybody in there. It's not built for the modern utility expenses. It was built in 1908 when oil was almost free, and they could just heat it up for the congregation on Sundays, and
Uh-huh.
then and pretty much leave it unheated the rest of the time. But we have producers that come in and do their show live, so we have to have heat available for them, that they can at least turn on and off when they come and go. Hopefully we'll get our basement. The basement is of course has a lower ceiling, but it's about an 8.5 foot ceiling. It's a totally appropriate height ceiling, but it's so much easier to heat than our sanctuary level, which has a 25-foot ceiling.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So, run down the expenses that we incur again.
sure. So so there's Pacifica, there's our internet, uh, radio software and technical services updates, our web page. There's a licensing company, CSAC, BMI, ASCAP, and Sound Exchange, and they each cover different things. Like Sound Exchange covers our streaming licensing, and different artists. Some of them are are affiliated with CSAC, some are associated with BMI, and some are associated with ASCAP. So in order to avoid missing anybody, we have to do all of them. Then there's radio insurance, there's building insurance, there's utilities, what you just talked about, the heat and electricity. Uh, there's just general expenses, building upgrades. Uh, we put 2 new electrical services into the radio studio this year. We also put lights outside the building to make it safer for people to come in and out when they, especially when they do shows in the evening. There's additional radio supplies. So it comes to about $1,200 a month. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's approximately what it comes to. If I could, in addition to the bottle drive, which is absolutely fascinating and wonderful, uh, we want to do pledge drives on the radio. We do underwriting on the radio. If there's anybody listening who wants to do underwriting, they can contact me at Larry Becker at msn.com, and we'll work up an underwriting contract for them, get their name heard on the radio, let people know that that entity who wants to do the underwriting cares about the community and community radio. Uh, Pledge drives. We want to do pledge drives on the radio station as well.
So, I'm sure that over, the, the the next few months or however long this goes on, there'll be creative people to work with me, creative people that will say, let's do this and let's do that. And, I think it's just absolutely fun. It's fun. And a lot of people just throw away their cans and bottles. Why throw them away when they could donate it to us to keep us running? That's my whole idea.
Well, it's a great idea, and you've got me now, like in our office here. We have a huge bag that we buy bottled water, so we're filling it up. We're filling it. Now, normally we would put that bag outside at the end. Well, we mix it in. We mix it in with all the other recyclables, but now we're saving it for the fund drive for sure. For
So,
the bottle drive. Yeah.
so in the closing moments, give a little pitch for WCAA and how people, besides the battle and can drive, how they could become involved with us.
Well, there's a couple of ways to become involved with us. One of them is to contact the radio station, and I don't mind being the contact person for this. So it's Larry Becker at msn.com. So one of them is to be on the radio, have a radio show, come up with an idea, pitch the idea to the radio station, and you could be on the radio. Our motto is the voice, and we try to be the voice of the community because the community isn't typically invited to sit at the table. So we have our own table. Our radio station is the table for us, so we can use that. The for in terms of the bottle drive, you should tell them what time it is.
Oh, yes, yes, I'm sorry. It'll be on the 30th of the month on Grand and Madison Avenue between the hours of 10 and 4, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And come down, join us, grab a chair and participate in the volunteers at WCAA. Our tent is big enough that anybody can participate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you've been listening to Larry Becker, um, and I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Focus on Albany, and if you like the show, please subscribe to my YouTube page. Larry, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I'll see you on Saturday,
Great.
and thanks everybody for listening.